Factor Podcast. What is up, college lacrosse fans? So I wanted to talk today about Maryland and a very good problem for the Maryland lacrosse team to have. But first, before I do, if you are a Maryland fan, there's a good chance you are, because if you're seeing this video, we have our Maryland flag lacrosse shorts out. We have a handful of pairs left, so go to laxfactor.com ASAP so that you can get yours. They have pockets, they're mesh, they're awesome. And if they are on back order, you can still order them, and we'll have another set in within a week or two. So laxfactor.com, get some Maryland flag shorts. But now I want to get into Maryland and their goalie problem. Maryland graduates their starting goalie from last season, and in just a couple days ago, Chris Brandau announced that he's transferring to the Terps from Georgetown. So this is going to put John Tillman's team first culture to the test. Maryland's able to typically keep 4 5-star athletes on their roster and keep them content while they wait for their turn to play. So it'll be interesting to see now here with the new transfer portal and how easy it is to just get your name out there, find a new team, and move on. It'll be interesting to see if they can keep these 3 goalkeepers that I think are all going to compete for the starting spot happy. We have Drew Morris, a junior. He'll be a junior in 2020. He's been waiting for his chance to get on the field and play. I believe he only saw action in 1 game and put up, I think, 2 saves on 3 shots or something. It was his stats were minimal. And then we have the transfer from Georgetown, Chris Brandau, sophomore, who took over at the end of the year, towards the end of the year for Georgetown. I think it was the Providence game that he got in initially, and then he played well against Denver, and then he had a solid game against Yale, despite the fact that Georgetown lost almost every face-off in that game. His stats on the year, though, Brandau, he'll be a sophomore going into 2020. 48 saves versus 39 goals against for a 55% save percentage in his handful of games that he got action in. And then the third guy, Logan McNaney, freshman. He was the Under Armour All-American MVP. So he's a 4 or 5-star athlete as well. I think he's actually a 5-star recruit, if I'm not mistaken. But that's 3 solid goalies. Now listen, I saw FanLax had put an article up about this, and in their discussion, a lot of guys are saying these are 3 top-notch goalies, and then you have the other guys that are more tempered that are saying, hold on, these are 3 unproven goalies, even if they have had success at the high school level. What's to say that's going to translate into this level? Well, I'll say Brandau, his success is already translated at the D1 level. He played really well against Yale. It was under 50%. I think his save percentage was in the area of 44% against Yale, but he played tough, and he's one of the reasons that Georgetown didn't get totally smoked in that game. And so, and then he played well against Denver and well against Providence as well, as he spelled Georgetown's former starting goalie. And the McNaney kid, yes, high school action is all we've seen of him, but he's played well against some of the best players in the country and some of the best teams in the country. So he's proven. And one of the comments in the FanLax forum discussion had mentioned that of all the positions in lacrosse, goalie often does translate well from high school to the Division I level. That if you're looking at goalkeepers and you're saying, hey, I like the 3 goalkeepers we have, typically it's because any 3 of those goalies can start for you. I would say that's been the case for a lot of teams I've played on, where you have 2 goalies, maybe 3, and any one of them could get in that game and do well. And I think all 3 of these kids are worthy of starting at the Division I level. They're worthy of starting for Maryland. And I think if I were to predict right now who's going to get the nod here, I'd have to say Chris Brandau, partly because you don't normally see a kid leave one school for another in a case like this, especially where they had a starting goalie leaving. I would think that he's fairly confident this starting job is going to end up his, despite the fact that Drew Morris is already there and the freshman's coming in. So I'm going to lean into thinking that Brandau is going to get this spot. I've actually seen Brandau play twice now, and both games he impressed me. Even in the Yale game where he was, he went under 50%, between the pipes, he still impressed me. So I'm going to guess that Brandau is going to end up being the one that will start. But as important, it will be interesting to see if they can keep all 3 of these goalies on their roster into 2020, let alone get through the end of the spring in 2020 and then see what happens after that. I wouldn't be surprised to see that if Brandau's named the starter, to see Drew Morris, his name go into the transfer portal. Although by that point, it's tough. By that point, he's only got a year left, so maybe he just decides to continue to battle it out, or just wait for his chance to prove himself. And again, that's assuming he's not named the starter. I have no idea who the hell's going to start, and it's really early to kind of be talking about it. But I wouldn't be surprised if whoever ends up getting the start, to see both guys transfer away the season after, because even a guy like Morris, he could still get a year in playing somewhere, depending on the situation. So beyond all of this and beyond even Maryland, it's going to be interesting to see over the next 2 or 3 seasons how the teams like Maryland, teams like Duke, teams like Virginia they've done a good job of keeping talent on their bench and happy as they wait for their turn. It'll be interesting with the transfer portal, seeing hopefully some of the success of other kids who have transferred out. We've seen Chris Gray. He transfers to UNC from Boston U. We see Scanlon go from Loyola to Syracuse, and there's other not as big a names as those two, but there's other guys like Brandau and other guys at programs that have hit the portal and are already in new homes. So it'll be interesting to see how this works with former 4- and 5-star recruits that end up riding the pine through a season or two. We'll see. Will we see them stay at the schools that picked him up and wait patiently for their chance to play? Obviously, some of them will. Hopefully, most of them will. And I'm just curious to see how many we'll see ditch for what they think are greener pastures. And hey, I'm not one of the guys that's against it. That is it. I've rambled enough here for you guys. So as always, especially you Maryland fans, go to laxfactor.com. You can get the Maryland flag shorts. They have that like kind of strip that goes down the front and then to the back. They have pockets, laxfactor.com. And as always, be sure to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're pinged in your pocket when we put up new videos. And if you have a team and you need some team gear for your team, we do custom dye sublimated reversible shorts, shooting shirts, and all sorts of other stuff. Just go to laxfactor.com for more information. Thank you for listening, and I'm out.